I quit. I quit. I quit. I quit, Mr. White.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. The worst possible result and the most predictable result of the Trump administration's Epstein PR crisis nightmare is happening right now when good people are walking off the job. Dan Bongino, according to multiple reports, has left the FBI. For good? Has he resigned? We're not sure. But he's out of the building today. And I can explain why. The reason why is the truth time capsule of the internet. And it is a cruel mistress. We know this because so many of our show's clips are going viral because we've been asking about this question for years. And we're not embarrassed about it at all because we're proud that we've always been seeking truth on the Epstein question. And we've asked very powerful people about it. Some of the clips have gone viral because, well, we haven't gotten anything. Even from people like Kash Patel, who promised we would. Simple. Because of who's on that list. Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the predators are, says Kash Patel on our show in 2023. That's one's gone viral. Pam Bondi grinning with Sean Hannity saying, up next with Sean Hannity to talk about Epstein. This is from 2019. I wonder what she said. So awkward, some are saying. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who's probably the most online of anybody in federal law enforcement is Dan Bongino. And Dan Bongino was on Tim Pool's show. Dan Bongino, of course, walked out of the FBI today. We'll cover that reporting in just a second. But we want to take you through why that probably happened. And we know why. Dan explains here, it's kind of the key to everything, this clip. He explains what Epstein really was and what he believes. And we'll see how this clip aged.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it. But the short story, but not who they are. Says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
So Epstein was a intel asset. That's not totally incongruent, I guess, with the findings. In fact, the findings sort of betray that he was an intel asset and that it has to be protected. And that that other foreign nations may have this intelligence, may have this data, this network, and may humiliate the US government. It seems like a massive cover-up because it probably is. What Dan's saying there, I mean, I tend to believe entirely. And is that what Dan found out to be true? Sure as hell seems like it. Another clip that's going viral of Dan Bongino is one from his show where he says, don't forget about Epstein.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it. Outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I'm telling you that I know Dan Bongino. We've said this. He's been a bit of a mentor to me. Dan Bongino is full of heart and is not a liar. And perhaps what's happening here is a bit of a PR crisis that's self-inflicted. And here's what I mean by that. The way that this memo was released and the way that all the evidence was released, or lack thereof, begs so many more questions than it does answers. It seems sloppy. It seems quick. It seems rushed. And according to all available reporting, Dan Bongino did not want to release it this way, and that's why he's walked off the job. Because he knows that clips like this exist, and it's going to put him in a really tough spot. Dan really, really knows social media, knows it well, knows this entire ecosystem. Dan doesn't want to be tainted by the botched release of this, which still for the life of me, I can't figure out why it was done in this manner. Bongino on Epstein. I'm just telling you there's nothing there in the file that indicates anything other than than a suicide. Well, the video that we've seen is absolutely inconclusive, but it had no explanation. What's wild is that Dan Bongino in these clips explained more than we ever got in the actual official release of the unsigned document. And I think that's where the absolute frustration comes from. According to reporting, this is what the nightmare is inside of the Trump administration right now. Axios and Mark Computer just confirmed my report that Bongino is taking the day off amid speculation that he might resign as deputy director. Frustration with Pam Bondi's botching of the Epstein files and lack of transparency. You can't run on, we will give you everything, we will give you all the transparency, and then not give transparency on this, one of the most premier vectors of Rosetta Stone level trust, a deciphering of what the deep state was up to with Epstein. You can't just say shut up, we looked into it, don't ask any more questions. It's opposite of what you promised, right? That's going to really get under the skin of guys like Bongino. Again, the guy's just all heart. He's not going to want to have his reputational damage like this. During this time, as a successful podcaster, Bongino consistently urged viewers to push for the full release of the Epstein files. It was a main pillar of his show, and recently unsigned memo released by Blondie. The FBI created a massive tension between Bongino and Cash. Blondie has created a total crisis for the Trump administration and is now sparking disagreements between White House staff over how it should be handled. Blondie needs to be fired. Look at the chaos that she has created. And then Laura Loomer shares the clip that I just presented to you. Dan Bongino drops Epstein evidence bombshell and says he just killed himself. Okay. Well, here's the reality. You just got to explain your work. If you believe that, then release evidence and then explain it to us. Explain it to us like we're children or like Labradors, right? Like give us the benefit of the doubt of just explaining your work. But it turns out, according to this reporting, that Bongino was not allowed that, right? And that he walked off the job at the FBI over a disagreement with Pam Bondi over the way that this was all released. The dispute erupted Wednesday amid the fallout from the administration walking back its claim about Epstein by determining the convicted sex offender didn't have any celebrity client list and wasn't murdered in New York City. At the center of the arguments, the surveillance video about Epstein's cell, which the administration released, saying that it was proof no one had entered the room before he killed himself. The 10-hour video said there were missing minutes in it. It wasn't actually proof, and it wasn't actually Epstein's cell. That's a matter of fact. That's a matter of absolute fact. Bongino, who'd pushed for the Epstein conspiracy theories, President Trump appointed to lead the FBI, found the video and touted it publicly and privately as proof that Epstein wasn't actually murdered. But Bongino said that the release and Bondi's handling of the Epstein case, she had publicly overpromised and underdelivered disclosures and led to sort of this whole ramp up of the Epstein case, and that really pissed off Bongino. Obviously, people were on a fever pitch based on what the administration had said, and now it makes a lot of people look silly because there's nothing. During the meeting, Bongino confronted about the News Nation article that said he and Patel wanted more information released about Epstein earlier and were held back. Bongino denied leaking the idea. Pam said her piece, Dan said his piece. It did not end on friendly terms. Bongino left angry. And the fact is Dan was for releasing more information with the video and had no problem until he got heat online. Bongino found the video with the missing minute. He vouched for it through a review, but we never got an explanation of it. So the pro-Bongino source, Dan is not the bad guy here. He shouldn't take the fall, and that seems to be the problem. You have a live grenade, the pin's been pulled, and now everybody's throwing it around, right? Who catches the grenade? Well, I guess we'll see. A lot of people saying a lot of stuff right now. But what seems to be confirmed is that Dan Bongino has walked off the job. Officials say he's still deputy director of the FBI. Insiders say he's quit. We'll see. People saying not surprising if true. We'll see. This was our biggest fears realized. We worried there'd be a contagion here, that people wouldn't want to be associated with such a botched, they don't understand how big this issue is to the base, and you don't want to do irreparable damage with the base. That's why we've been warning about this. That's why we've been screaming from the rooftops, trying to give constructive criticism. Appoint a special counsel, release all the evidence that you possibly can, apologize, and do a 180. That's my take. Okay? What's yours? Let me know in the comment section. It's your boy Benny. See you.